Imagine a river, vibrant and untamed, carving its path through the earth. Its currents carry nourishment, sustain ecosystems, and embody the ceaseless vitality of life itself. Now picture that river dammed, its waters held back, its flow interrupted. What once was a source of life becomes stagnant, the energy within trapped and unable to fulfill its purpose. In this image lies the essence of why retaining semen, a natural and rhythmic flow of energy, disrupts the balance that nature has so carefully designed. Energy, like water, thrives in motion. To obstruct it is to invite stagnation, a state that diminishes rather than enhances vitality. The natural world provides countless examples of this principle. Blood flows through our veins, carrying oxygen to sustain life. Winds travel across the earth, bringing rain to nurture crops. Even the seasons cycle endlessly, moving from growth to rest and back again. In all these processes, movement ensures renewal. Retaining semen, by contrast, forces stillness onto a system that relies on flow to thrive. What is preserved is not energy, but potential denied. Just as a river must move to sustain its surrounding environment, our inner energies must circulate, transform, and find expression to fulfill their purpose. Is it truly discipline to hold on to what is meant to move, or is it an act of resistance against life's natural rhythms? Philosophers and spiritual traditions have long understood the necessity of flow. Taoist sages likened vitality to water, soft yet powerful, always adapting, always moving. They taught that harmony lies in following the path of least resistance, embracing the cycles of nature rather than imposing control upon them. This wisdom calls into question the premise of semen retention. To resist the body's natural rhythms is to create internal discord, a tension that mirrors the stagnation of a dammed river. The creative force within us, meant to be a source of renewal, becomes confined, its transformative potential squandered. Are we mistaking suppression for strength? Perhaps the answer lies in rethinking our relationship with energy. What if true vitality is not about hoarding, but about trusting in abundance? Nature constantly regenerates, rivers flow, seasons change, and the body replenishes. To release is not to lose, but to participate in a cycle far greater than ourselves. Instead of fearing depletion, we might ask, what becomes possible when we embrace the flow of life, allowing energy to move freely and return anew? In letting go, do we discover not weakness but a deeper strength rooted in alignment with the currents of existence? At first glance, control feels like strength. It promises stability, mastery, and discipline. Yet there's an irony here. The harder we grasp at control, the more life seems to slip through our fingers. Think of trying to hold water in your palms. The tighter your grip, the faster it escapes. Semen retention often embodies this paradox, presenting control as the ultimate virtue. But does suppressing the body's natural rhythms bring power, or does it breed tension? To cling too tightly to control might be to miss the deeper lessons of surrender. In nature, surrender is everywhere, not as weakness, but as harmony. Consider the tree bending in a storm. It does not resist the wind, but moves with it, preserving its roots and enduring the tempest. The river, too, teaches this lesson. It carves valleys and shapes landscapes not by fighting the rock, but by flowing persistently around it. These natural forces embody a truth that resonates through philosophical traditions like Stoicism. True mastery lies in aligning with the inevitable, not in opposing it. Semen retention, however, asks us to resist one of life's most fundamental processes, positioning suppression as strength. But does such resistance create mastery, or does it invite conflict within ourselves? Human history is rich with teachings about the power of surrender. Taoism, for example, venerates the principle of Wu Wei, effortless action. This doesn't mean passivity, but living in alignment with the flow of life. Semen retention, however, demands effort. the conscious decision to deny the body's natural urges. While this might seem like discipline, it risks reinforcing a false narrative that controlling one's impulses is the highest form of mastery. In reality, surrendering to the body's wisdom is not a loss of power, but a profound act of trust. Could it be that by letting go, we tap into a deeper reservoir of strength? Letting go of control is often feared as chaos, but in truth, it creates space for harmony. The body knows how to renew itself, replenishing energy through rest, nutrition, and rhythm. By surrendering to this process, we relieve ourselves of the exhausting need to dominate every aspect of our existence. To release is not to lose, but to participate in a cycle larger than ourselves. In this, there is a freedom that control can never offer. Perhaps the real question is not what we relinquish when we stop clinging, but what we gain: peace, balance, and alignment with the flow of life. Energy is a mysterious force, constantly in motion, reshaping itself into new forms. It powers our thoughts, fuels our actions, and animates the world around us. Yet, there's a persistent myth that energy is finite, something to be hoarded rather than harnessed. Semen retention relies heavily on this idea, suggesting that withholding ejaculation conserves vital energy. But is this belief grounded in reality, or does it stem from a misunderstanding of how energy truly functions? Like the sun that burns each day but never diminishes, could our energy too be self-renewing rather than exhaustible? Philosophically, the idea of energy conservation can feel intuitive. After all, we are taught that resources must be managed wisely. However, when applied to the human body, this perspective falls short. The body isn't a static reservoir, but a dynamic system, constantly replenishing itself. Food, sleep, and movement are all part of a continuous cycle that generates energy anew. Semen, while rich in nutrients and symbolic of life's creative potential, is no exception to this principle. Retention assumes that releasing semen results in an irreparable loss, but this overlooks the body's remarkable ability to restore balance. Are we truly depleting ourselves, or are we simply participating in a natural rhythm of renewal? The fallacy of conservation also dismisses the transformative nature of energy. In physics, energy is never destroyed, it only changes form. This principle can be applied to our own vitality. When semen is released, it doesn't represent a loss. Instead, it's a shift, a redistribution of energy within and beyond the body. Whether it's the hormonal benefits of ejaculation or the emotional release it brings, this energy takes on new dimensions. Holding on to semen with the belief that it protects power may, in fact, create stagnation. Could it be that the very act of release is what allows energy to flow freely and serve its purpose? Rather than fearing depletion, perhaps the key lies in trusting the body's regenerative capabilities. Just as the seasons cycle through phases of rest and growth, our energy follows patterns of use and restoration. Retaining semen out of fear of losing vitality may lead us away from the abundance inherent in nature. What if, instead of conserving energy, we focused on cultivating it? By embracing the flow of release and renewal, we align ourselves with the rhythms of life, discovering that energy isn't something to hoard but a force to share, transform, and celebrate. Sexual energy is one of the most potent forces in existence. It is the spark that creates life, the fire that fuels desire, and the inspiration that drives creativity. Yet rather than celebrating this energy for its immense potential, the philosophy of semen retention often frames it as something to be stored and contained. This perspective risks missing a fundamental truth. Sexual energy is not meant to stagnate. It is a force of creation, transformation, and expression. By hoarding it, do we not risk blocking its transformative power and losing its gifts entirely? Throughout history, sexual energy has been revered as a source of artistic and intellectual brilliance. Artists, poets, and visionaries often channel this force into their work, using it as fuel for boundless creativity. Think of it as a current flowing through us, seeking an outlet to manifest its potential. When we retain semen in an effort to conserve energy, we may be halting this flow, cutting ourselves off from the creative inspiration that sexual energy naturally provides. Could it be that true mastery lies not in containment, but in learning how to direct this energy into meaningful creation? Esoteric traditions like Tantra recognize sexual energy as sacred and emphasize its role in spiritual and personal evolution. In these teachings, the act of release is not seen as a loss, but as a powerful transformation. Whether through orgasm or other forms of expression, this energy can be channeled outward to create connection, intimacy, and transcendence. Retention, on the other hand, risks turning sexual energy inward, leaving it unexpressed and unfulfilled. What if the act of letting go is the key to unlocking the deeper potential within this force? Semen, as a symbol of life's creative power, carries immense significance. But its purpose is not solely to be preserved. It is to inspire action, connection, and transformation. By releasing it, we honor the cycle of giving and receiving, the interplay of energy that sustains creation itself. Instead of fearing the so-called loss of this energy, we might ask, what beauty, what art, what love could we manifest if we let it flow freely? To celebrate sexual energy is to embrace its role as a driving force in our lives, reminding us that creation is not about holding back, but about sharing our vitality with the world. Imagine a delicate dance where every step is guided by harmony, a give and take, a flow of motion that feels effortless and natural. This is the essence of balance, a principle that governs not only nature but also our inner lives. Practices like Tantra teach us that energy, especially sexual energy, thrives when it circulates freely, blending with other forces within the body and mind. Semen retention, however, risks disrupting this balance, turning a harmonious dance into a stagnant pause. What happens when energy, instead of moving, is hoarded? Does it serve us, or does it begin to weigh us down? Tantra, a spiritual tradition rooted in harmony and connection, views sexual energy as a vital part of a larger energetic system. It is neither something to fear nor something to waste. It is simply one part of a flow that includes the heart, the mind, and the spirit. Retaining semen for too long can create a bottleneck, blocking the energy from circulating to other areas where it is needed. This imbalance can manifest as tension, frustration, or even physical discomfort. Could it be that by clinging to one form of energy, we deny ourselves the broader vitality that comes from allowing it to move? In nature, energy is never static. Rivers flow, wind moves, and even the cells in our bodies are in constant motion. This circulation is essential for maintaining health and equilibrium. When energy stagnates, systems break down, rivers become polluted, winds grow still, and life struggles to thrive. Semen retention, when taken to extremes, mirrors this stagnation. Instead of enhancing vitality, it can create a sense of being stuck, as though the very energy meant to empower us is now trapped. What if the secret to vitality is not in keeping energy, but in letting it flow where it is needed? The beauty of balance lies in its simplicity. Energy must move to be alive. When sexual energy is allowed to circulate, through expression, release, or creative pursuits, it nourishes every part of us. This is not a loss, but a transformation, an alchemy that turns raw vitality into something greater. By embracing balance, we align with the rhythms of life, discovering that energy doesn't diminish when shared. It multiplies. So, why hold on to what is meant to move? In the free flow of energy, we find not only balance, but a profound connection to the world within and around us. There are moments in life that defy explanation, fleeting instances where time seems to dissolve and we are left with nothing but pure presence. The experience of orgasm can be one such moment, transcending the physical and opening a door to something greater. It is often described as a gateway to heightened consciousness, a brief union with the infinite. Yet the philosophy of semen retention often discourages this natural phenomenon, framing it as a loss of energy rather than a tool for spiritual awakening. Could it be that in denying the orgasm, we are closing ourselves off from one of life's most profound spiritual gifts? Across cultures and traditions, orgasm has been recognized as more than a physical release. In Tantra, it is celebrated as a sacred act, a merging of energies that can lead to spiritual transcendence. The French even call it la petite mort, the little death, a symbolic letting go of the self, the ego, and the illusion of separation. Retention, however, limits access to this transformative state, keeping us tethered to control and resistance. What if the orgasm, far from depleting us, is a way to dissolve barriers and connect with the vastness of existence? The spiritual potential of orgasm lies in its ability to unite mind, body, and spirit. It is a moment of surrender, where all distractions fade and we are fully present in the now. This state mirrors the goals of meditation, where the dissolution of ego creates space for deeper awareness. Retention, by contrast, can pull us away from this unity, framing the body's natural rhythms as something to overcome rather than embrace. Are we missing an opportunity to use this powerful tool for spiritual growth by clinging to the idea that release is weakness? To view orgasm as merely a loss of energy is to reduce its richness, its potential as a transformative experience. When approached with intention, it becomes a sacred act, a way to channel energy, express love, and connect with the divine. Far from weakening us, it can renew and inspire, reminding us of our place within the larger tapestry of life. Could it be that in letting go, we find not depletion but expansion? In the surrender of orgasm lies a truth. Sometimes, to open ourselves to the infinite, we must first let ourselves dissolve. The human body is a marvel of balance and adaptation, finely tuned to maintain its health through cycles of use and renewal. Yet, when these cycles are disrupted, the body can falter. Prolonged semen retention, often championed for its supposed benefits, can sometimes have unintended physical consequences. While moderation and self-control are valuable, excessive retention risks causing discomfort and even harm. What happens when the body, designed to release, is forced to hold on to what it no longer needs? Could the quest for energy conservation come at the expense of physical well-being? One of the most immediate effects of prolonged retention is the buildup of pressure within the reproductive system. This can lead to a condition commonly referred to as epididymal hypertension, or blue balls, which causes discomfort, aching, and an overwhelming sense of physical tension. Though temporary, this condition is a clear signal from the body. Release is not a mere indulgence, it is a necessary function. Over time, repeated episodes of such retention may strain the body, leading to chronic discomfort and disrupting overall reproductive health. Is the pursuit of discipline worth ignoring these physical warnings? Beyond immediate discomfort, prolonged retention may carry more significant risks for long-term health. Regular ejaculation has been shown to support prostate health by flushing out toxins and reducing inflammation. Studies have linked frequent ejaculation to a lower risk of prostate cancer, highlighting its role as a natural mechanism for maintaining a healthy reproductive system. By withholding ejaculation over extended periods, are we inadvertently neglecting a crucial process that safeguards our well-being? Could the body's need for release be more vital than the ideology that retention promotes? Health is not simply about restraint or indulgence. It's about harmony. The body's needs are clear and consistent, signaling when to hold back and when to let go. Prolonged semen retention, far from strengthening the body, can upset this balance, creating unnecessary strain. What if true wellness lies not in forcing the body into artificial constraints, but in listening to its rhythms and honoring its cycles? The body speaks to us through sensations, through discomfort and ease. The question becomes, are we willing to hear its message and embrace the flow that supports our health? Our body is an intricate system, constantly working to maintain its health and balance. Among its many functions, regular ejaculation plays a crucial role in the maintenance of prostate health, a fact supported by modern medical science. Yet, the philosophy of semen retention often overlooks this biological necessity, framing ejaculation as an unnecessary depletion of energy. What if, instead of depleting vitality, ejaculation serves as a vital act of cleansing and renewal? Could the path to long-term health be found not in withholding, but in honoring the body's natural processes? The prostate gland, a small but essential organ in the male reproductive system, relies on regular cycles of use to remain healthy. Research has consistently shown that frequent ejaculation helps flush out toxins and prevent the buildup of potentially harmful substances within the prostate. One landmark study even found that men who ejaculate 21 times or more per month have a significantly lower risk of developing prostate cancer compared to those who ejaculate less frequently. These findings highlight a biological truth. The body is designed to release, and this release is a protective mechanism that safeguards long-term health. Retention, when taken to extremes, disrupts this natural process. Instead of allowing the prostate to cleanse itself through regular ejaculation, prolonged retention forces the gland to hold on to fluid that would otherwise be expelled. Over time, this can lead to discomfort, congestion, and even inflammation. Conditions such as prostatitis and inflammation of the prostate can develop, causing pain and urinary issues. These physical consequences stand in stark contrast to the claims of enhanced vitality often associated with retention. Could ignoring the body's signals in pursuit of an idealized discipline do more harm than good? Health is not a zero-sum game. It thrives on balance and responsiveness. Regular ejaculation is not a loss, but a renewal, a way for the body to maintain its systems and protect its long-term function. By framing this natural process as something to be avoided, retention risks prioritizing ideology over well-being. What if true strength lies in listening to the body, in trusting its rhythms, and respecting its wisdom? The body, after all, knows what it needs. The question we must ask ourselves is this: are we willing to align with its truths, or will we impose ideals that deny its inherent intelligence? The human body is a masterpiece of renewal. Every day it regenerates cells, replenishes resources, and restores balance through intricate biological processes. Energy, contrary to popular belief, is not a finite resource to be hoarded. Instead, it is a force that renews itself constantly, given the right conditions. Semen retention often operates on the assumption that energy is lost permanently through ejaculation, but this perspective overlooks the body's remarkable capacity to restore what it gives. Could it be that this fear of loss misunderstands the regenerative power of nature itself? The body replenishes energy in many ways, through food, rest, hydration, and movement. Sleep, for example, allows the brain to recharge, clearing waste and rebuilding neural connections. Nutrition provides the raw materials needed to rebuild cells and tissues. Even the simple act of breathing draws in oxygen, a fuel that powers every bodily function. These mechanisms highlight an essential truth: energy is not static. It flows in cycles of use and renewal. Ejaculation, far from being an irretrievable loss, is part of this cycle, a natural process that the body is well equipped to recover from. Retention, when based on the belief that ejaculation irreparably depletes energy, risks imposing unnecessary guilt and anxiety on a process as natural as exhaling. Scientific studies have shown that the body restores sperm quickly, ensuring that reproductive capacity is never compromised. Moreover, the hormonal and psychological benefits of release, such as reduced stress and improved mood, contribute to overall vitality. What if the true secret to energy is not in suppressing these cycles, but in trusting the body to restore itself as it has evolved to do? Energy, like the seasons, moves in cycles. It is not something we lose when we give. It is something we regenerate when we live in harmony with our nature. Retaining semen out of fear of depletion denies the body's inherent resilience and capacity for renewal. By embracing the body's rhythms, we free ourselves from the illusion of scarcity, stepping into a mindset of abundance. The question is not whether we lose energy through release, but whether we trust the body's extraordinary ability to bring it back tenfold. Are we willing to align with this flow, or will we cling to a fear that nature itself has already overcome? There's an undeniable allure to the idea of restraint, a promise that withholding one's desires leads to mastery and strength. But what happens when restraint morphs into fixation? The act of suppressing natural impulses often has a paradoxical effect, amplifying the very urges it seeks to control. Semen retention, though intended as a pathway to discipline, can quickly turn into an obsession, consuming mental and emotional energy. Could it be that by focusing so intently on not releasing, we're giving even greater power to the very impulse we aim to master? Psychological insights provide a compelling explanation for this phenomenon. Freud's theories on repression highlight how unaddressed desires often resurface in unexpected ways, manifesting as frustration or compulsive behaviors. When we actively deny a natural urge like ejaculation, the mind may fixate on it, creating an internal tension that distracts from other pursuits. This tension can grow into an unhealthy preoccupation with control, turning what began as a disciplined choice into a source of stress and inner conflict. How often does this quest for mastery devolve into a cycle of guilt, frustration, and fixation? This psychological burden mirrors the Buddhist concept of dukkha, or suffering, which arises from clinging and aversion. By fixating on the act of retention, we inadvertently create a mental cage, tethering ourselves to the very desire we hope to transcend. True liberation comes not from resisting natural urges, but from understanding and harmonizing with them. Semen retention, when driven by suppression rather than intention, risks reinforcing the chains of fixation instead of breaking free from them. Are we truly mastering ourselves, or are we being mastered by our fear of release? To suppress is to risk obsession. To release is to embrace balance. The body's natural rhythms are not enemies to be fought, but allies to be understood. By trusting these rhythms, we can free ourselves from the exhausting cycle of suppression and fixation. What if mastery isn't about control at all, but about harmony? Could it be that in letting go, we reclaim the mental clarity and emotional peace that suppression so often denies us? The choice isn't between strength and weakness, it's between obsession and freedom. Confidence is often described as a quiet assurance, a deep belief in one's abilities and worth. But what happens when that confidence is tied to external practices or fragile constructs? For many proponents of semen retention, confidence becomes a reward for the discipline of withholding, a temporary high linked to the act of control. Yet this raises an important question. Is this confidence authentic, or is it conditional, built on a foundation that could crumble as soon as the retention ends? True self-esteem comes from within, independent of fleeting behaviors or achievements. It is rooted in a holistic understanding of one's value, not in a single practice or ideology. Retention-based confidence, however, risks becoming transactional. The longer one retains, the more confidence grows, creating a precarious dependency. This framework not only pressures individuals to uphold an unsustainable ideal, but also leaves them vulnerable to guilt and shame if they fail. Is this truly empowerment, or does it mask deeper insecurities with a veneer of discipline? Psychology reveals that lasting confidence emerges from self-awareness and self-acceptance. It's the result of knowing one's strengths and limitations, and embracing both without judgment. When confidence hinges on semen retention, it often reflects a fear of inadequacy rather than a celebration of inherent worth. The practice can become a way to prove one's strength rather than a genuine path to inner peace. Could the energy spent on retention be better used in cultivating self-esteem that isn't reliant on external metrics or rigid practices? Authentic confidence doesn't require the crutch of retention. It thrives in balance, in recognizing that worth isn't defined by control over bodily urges. Letting go of the pressure to retain can open the door to a deeper, more sustainable sense of self, one that isn't shaken by the natural cycles of release and renewal. What if confidence isn't something to be earned but something we already possess, waiting to be uncovered? By releasing the need to prove ourselves through retention, we might just discover the unshakable foundation of self-worth that's been within us all along. There are few experiences as universally human as the need for release, whether physical, emotional, or mental. Sexual release, in particular, is often reduced to its physical mechanics, yet it holds a deeper significance. It can be a powerful form of emotional catharsis, a way to let go of stress, tension, and built-up emotions. When viewed through this lens, ejaculation is not merely a bodily function, but a vital aspect of emotional well-being. What happens when this natural outlet is suppressed? Could the act of holding back lead to emotional stagnation rather than clarity? Modern psychology underscores the importance of release in managing stress and promoting mental health. Emotions, much like energy, need to flow freely to avoid becoming trapped. When sexual release is denied over extended periods, it can create a buildup of tension that manifests as frustration, irritability, or even anxiety. Ejaculation triggers the release of endorphins and oxytocin, often called feel-good hormones, which promote relaxation and emotional balance. By suppressing this process, are we not depriving ourselves of a crucial tool for maintaining mental and emotional harmony? This emotional benefit extends beyond the individual. In relationships, sexual release fosters intimacy and connection, creating a bond that transcends words. Retention, however, can introduce a sense of rigidity or emotional distance, as the effort to control one's urges may overshadow the desire for genuine connection. What if, instead of viewing release as a loss, we embraced it as a shared act of vulnerability and trust? Could the emotional catharsis of ejaculation not only serve the self, but also deepen the bonds we form with others? To hold back release is to deny ourselves a natural avenue for emotional renewal. The tension that builds in its absence can ripple into other areas of life, impacting mood, relationships, and even productivity. By allowing sexual energy to flow freely, we create space for emotional healing and clarity. What if the true strength lies not in suppression, but in embracing the cycles of tension and release, recognizing them as integral to our well-being? Perhaps the question is not whether release weakens us, but how much stronger we become when we allow ourselves to let go. For centuries, cultural narratives around sexuality have been steeped in guilt and shame. These narratives have shaped how societies view desire, pleasure, and release, often casting them as weaknesses or moral failings. The philosophy of semen retention sometimes echoes these outdated ideas, suggesting that ejaculation diminishes vitality and character. But how much of this perspective is rooted in genuine wisdom, and how much is a reflection of inherited guilt? To move forward, we must first ask, are these ideas serving us, or are they remnants of a past that suppressed rather than empowered? The origins of these guilt-based narratives can often be traced to religious and cultural traditions that sought to regulate human behavior. By framing sexuality as something to be controlled, these systems reinforce the idea that desires were inherently sinful or dangerous. This ideology persists today in subtle ways, influencing modern practices like retention, which portray ejaculation as a moral or spiritual failure. But is this suppression truly about health and growth, or does it stem from a fear of the very power that sexual energy represents? Could embracing sexual expression be the key to breaking free from these inherited chains? Breaking free from guilt begins with recognizing the body as a vessel of wisdom, not shame. The act of ejaculation, far from being a loss, is a natural process that aligns with the body's rhythms. When framed in terms of guilt, it becomes a point of tension, something to resist or regret. By shifting the narrative to one of acceptance, we reclaim the power to view sexual release as a source of joy, connection, and renewal. What if the act of letting go is not a moral failing, but an acknowledgement of our humanity and the beauty of our natural design? Freedom from guilt-based narratives requires a new paradigm, one that celebrates sexuality as a vital part of life. Instead of viewing release as something to fear or avoid, we can choose to see it as an act of self-care and harmony. By rejecting the shame that retention sometimes perpetuates, we open the door to a healthier, more liberating relationship with our bodies. What might we discover about ourselves if we let go of guilt and embrace the truth of our desires? Perhaps in breaking free from these narratives, we uncover a path to deeper authenticity and joy. In today's world, productivity has become a religion. Every action, every decision is measured against its potential to yield results, to improve efficiency, or to achieve success. It's no surprise, then, that practices like semen retention have been co-opted into this relentless pursuit of optimization. Retention is often marketed as a productivity hack, promising heightened focus, energy, and drive. But what happens when our bodies are reduced to tools for output, and our natural rhythms are sacrificed on the altar of productivity? Are we truly growing, or are we losing sight of what it means to be human? This obsession with productivity often strips practices of their deeper meaning. Retention, which may have spiritual or philosophical roots, is now framed in terms of its ability to enhance physical and mental performance. Influencers tout its benefits for building confidence, increasing testosterone, or unlocking hidden potential, presenting it as yet another tool for personal advancement. But this framing can distort the purpose of retention, turning it into a transaction. Sacrifice release in exchange for success. Is this truly self-discipline? Or is it another way of commodifying our very existence? The pressure to optimize can also have unintended consequences. By treating retention as a means to an end, individuals may push themselves into rigid practices that create stress, guilt, and frustration. The failure to meet these self-imposed standards can lead to feelings of inadequacy, eroding rather than building confidence. Moreover, this approach often ignores the body's signals, prioritizing external goals over internal well-being. How sustainable is a practice that turns natural cycles into obstacles to overcome? Could the pursuit of productivity be undermining the balance and harmony that retention once aimed to cultivate? True growth isn't measured in productivity or output. It's found in connection, balance, and authenticity. Practices like retention should be tools for self-discovery, not strategies for squeezing more out of life. By divorcing retention from the productivity narrative, we can reconnect with its potential as a reflective and personal journey. What if we stopped asking how much more we can achieve and instead asked how we can live more fully? Perhaps the answer lies not in optimizing ourselves into machines, but in embracing the cycles, imperfections, and humanity that make life worth living. Sexuality is one of the most intimate and profound aspects of human experience, shaping connection, creativity, and identity. Across this exploration, we've seen how semen retention emerges as a practice rooted in the desire for discipline, control, and mastery. While such ideals can be inspiring, they often risk becoming rigid frameworks that suppress natural rhythms rather than empowering us to live in alignment with them. True mastery doesn't come from resistance. It arises from understanding and harmony. What if the strength we seek isn't found in withholding, but in flowing with the cycles of nature. Modern approaches to balance and liberation remind us that the body is not something to be controlled out of fear, but celebrated as a dynamic system of vitality and expression. Semen retention, when positioned as a universal ideal, risks perpetuating outdated narratives of guilt and shame, framing release as a weakness or loss. But our bodies tell a different story. Energy isn't something that disappears when it's shared. It transforms, renews, and circulates. By letting go of rigid practices, we allow ourselves the freedom to trust in the body's intelligence and its capacity for regeneration. This journey has revealed an essential truth. Energy is dynamic, not finite. The cycles of tension and release, use and replenishment, are not just natural, they're necessary. From the physical benefits of maintaining prostate health to the emotional catharsis and mental clarity that come with release, ejaculation plays a vital role in our well-being. Suppression, as we've explored, can lead to frustration, fixation, and even physical discomfort. Embracing release, on the other hand, invites us to live in alignment with ourselves, celebrating our bodies rather than seeing them as obstacles to overcome. Ultimately, the question isn't about retention versus release. It's about balance and authenticity. Sexuality, energy, and discipline are deeply personal, and their expression should reflect the individual rather than conform to one-size-fits-all ideals. By rejecting guilt-based narratives and rigid practices, we open ourselves to a healthier, more liberated relationship with our bodies and desires. What if living fully meant trusting not just in our strengths, but in our vulnerabilities? Perhaps in honoring the cycles of energy and the wisdom of our bodies, we uncover a profound truth. Liberation isn't found in clinging to control, but in embracing the freedom to live fully, authentically, and unapologetically in harmony with ourselves.